You know, the way that I pick topics to make these videos is kind of all over the place. But the one constant thread through all of them is that I'm saying things to myself that I need to hear. Stuff that I've been turning over and over and over again in my head. The fact that other people resonate with them is honestly just kind of a really cool bonus, because it's like I'm working out stuff out loud, and that process seems to help other people, which is amazing. As creatives, we tend to get kind of surprised when someone likes our work, or at least I do. Thinking about that made me start thinking about all the photographers whose work I aspire to. That's probably how they feel about their own work. And it can be how I feel about my own work, both here on YouTube and my own photography. I think to understand this a little bit better, you need to start asking more questions about your favorite artists. What makes those so-called masters of street photography stand out? And how are they doing the things that they're doing? The deeper into photography that you get, the more you start to realize how impressive the work by those masters of street photography actually is. When you really look at it, it's really clear how much time and skill went into making those images. And when I started to take photography and cinema and just art in general more seriously, I noticed that there was sort of an invisible thread that sort of tied it all together. And that's the art of creating context. A photo by itself may be technically perfect, but without context, without meaning, it's not gonna linger in your mind. The great photographers, the directors, the cinematographers that we all look up to, they're not just showing us what something looks like, they're showing us what it feels like.
This is gonna hurt.
They create frames that say not only here's what I saw, but here is what it meant to me. And that deeper meaning under the surface, whether it's clear or ambiguous, is what sticks. Oftentimes they're creating deeper meaning where sometimes that context might not even actually exist in the real world. And that is what I mean when I say creating context. Because creating context to me is different than taking something out of context, although the two can often overlap. When photographers create context, they're inventing meaning where there might not have been any. They're looking at the world around them and connecting elements that on the surface may have nothing in common. Other times they capture moments where two unrelated things happen to align in a way that feels more meaningful than it actually is. In both cases, they're not just observing what's happening in front of them. They're actively shaping how that story is being told in their own frames. And how they do this is not a mystery. They go out and they fail a lot. The art of street photography goes hand in hand with failing. And even the people that have done it for decades spent most of that time failing. And it's not because they're not great at it, it's because the world only aligns itself in that way so many times a day if you're lucky. The difference in the photographers that see it and those that don't are the ones that put in the work, being patient enough to notice when something meaningful is aligning in front of them, to shoot through the days and sometimes weeks of nothingness. You have to develop the taste to recognize when something meaningful starts to unfold in front of you. And you have to come to terms with the fact that just because you shot it doesn't mean it deserves to live in the world. Basically what I'm saying is the world is not going to give you great photos. You have to go out and work for them and create context where there might be none. To be as pretentious as possible, to quote Picasso, inspiration exists, but it has to find you working. Creating context is not a technique. It is a way of feeling the world around you and then capturing that feeling in your frame, learning to interpret it in a way that only you can with your own style. Because as the photographer, you were the one ready, waiting, and skilled enough to capture that feeling. So many people think that taking photos is easy because the people that are great at it make it look easy. They haven't seen everything that they've poured into it, the years of effort, learning, and growth and failure. It all comes together in a moment when a photo is taken, and when it's done well, it looks effortless. The most common mistake that I see from brand new street photographers is they just go out, point their camera, and take photos of people. We all do this in the beginning. But you can't just go out and point your camera at someone and call it a good photo. Just because you were close and it's kind of pretty doesn't make it a great photo. Those elements can go into making a good photo, but to make a great photo, it takes time and skill and patience, and most of all, commitment to making great work. The worst thing about street photography is that it takes a lifetime to master. But the best thing about street photography is that it takes a lifetime to master. It is a skill that once you develop it, you will never see the world in the same way. The closest thing I can relate it to is skateboarding. Once you become a good skateboarder and you start looking around the world for good handrails and skate spots, those spots just tend to pop up everywhere you look. When you start looking around your environment for good photos, they're going to start popping up everywhere. But you'll never get there if you don't go out and fail until you're not failing anymore. And remember that every single photographer that you look up to was once in the exact same position that you're in right now creatively. It's just the difference between the photographers that we know and the photographers that we don't. The photographers that we know never quit. So if you feel like you suck today, push through it, because on the other side of that suck is growth and the work that you have been chasing. But you have to do it over and over again, because every time you show up, you start to see it better. You start to feel it more. And you get better at understanding when something small can create bigger context. It's how you start to see the invisible threads that connect light and timing, emotion, and narrative all together. And once you learn how to see it, you will never unsee it. So don't quit, not because greatness is guaranteed, but because over time your camera becomes more than the tool it starts out as. It becomes your way of interpreting the world around you. And that is when you really start to see
how deep the rabbit hole goes.
So if you like this, make sure you hit the like button. If you really liked it, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Thanks so much for watching. And I really appreciate all the love the last video got. I was not expecting that. So thank you to all the new subscribers and everybody that watched and liked that video. I really, really greatly appreciate it. I will see you guys next time. Mike the Finder out. See you.